Lars Faaborg-Andersen is the European Union ambassador to Israel. He joined President Rivlin on his recent visit to the European Union Parliament, and he joins me now in the studio to debrief. Ambassador, welcome.
Good afternoon.
Presidents Rivlin and Abbas returned recently from high-profile visits to Brussels. Is it fair to call their visits a success?
Yeah, I think so, very much. If you take Mr. Rivlin's or President Rivlin's visit, I think it's confirmation of the very strong relationship between the European Union and Israel, something that the President also very strongly underlined during his visit. There are so many areas in which we cooperate in our mutual benefit, and even in the areas where we don't exactly see eye to eye on the issues, I think it was a very helpful visit. President Rivlin had many concrete suggestions on how to move forward with small steps on the ground in order to increase confidence between the parties. And this is exactly the approach that the Quartet has adopted, as you will know, also with the recent Quartet report.
Excellent. Well, President Abbas refused to meet President Rivlin in Brussels and reportedly even changed his hotel reservation when he discovered they were staying at the same hotel. Is this the behavior of a partner for peace?
Well, as you know, it was President Martin Schulz, the President of the European Parliament, who tried to broker this meeting. He failed to do that. I think it was a bit of a missed opportunity. But obviously...
Missed opportunity is putting it lightly. Why do you think President Abbas refused to meet the Israeli president?
Well, I don't know. All we were told was that he was not ready to do that, and you know, we can only take note of that. But as I said before, personally, I feel it was a missed opportunity.
Look, this was an invitation issued directly by the European Union. Does the fact that President Abbas rebuffed a European Union invitation just to talk to the Israeli president change your attitudes about this president's willingness to make a serious peace with Israel?
No, I think as we have made very clear on many occasions, it takes two to tango. And it's absolutely vital that both parties engage and is also seen as engaging. And on that note, I think it would have been a helpful step had the two presidents been able to meet now that they were in Brussels at the same time.
We also heard news today, according to Arabic media, that President Abbas plans to sever ties with the Quartet. How does this impact the European Union's attitude towards him?
Well, I have read that newspaper article as well. We still have to see whether this is actually in accordance with the facts. Obviously, the Quartet will continue to engage with the parties. The Quartet, after all, is the main international interlocutor on this issue. So even though the parties may not always agree on the recommendations and the analysis put forward by the Quartet, I don't think that there's any serious alternative for any of the parties to engage with the Quartet.
Okay, well, when President Abbas addressed the European Parliament, he famously accused certain rabbis of urging Israel to poison Palestinian wells, an allegation he later retracted, but MEPs still gave him a standing ovation. Do you condemn their decision to give him a standing ovation?
Well, I think that it's the practice in the European Parliament that whenever they host guests, you are showing the guest respect by standing up. They did exactly the same thing with President Rivlin, even though...
But all the same, he stood and asked and repeated an old medieval libel. Is it too difficult to say we draw a red line here and will not accept such statements in the European Parliament?
Well, I mean, that's entirely up to the European Parliament, which is, as you know, an independent institution. The point I'm making is that there were probably also parliamentarians who didn't appreciate what was being said by President Rivlin. And I think they stood up also afterwards. I mean, it's not an endorsement of the content of what's being said. It's simply a gesture of politeness and respect when people travel long distances to come and speak to the parliamentarians. They reciprocate by showing respect for people. That being said, I have noted also with satisfaction that President Abbas has retracted his comments subsequently.
Okay, well, looking forward, Prime Minister Netanyahu has repeatedly called on President Abbas to return for direct bilateral negotiations without preconditions. Why does the European Union support the French peace initiative instead of simply pressuring Abbas directly to take up the Prime Minister's invitation?
Because I think experience has shown that the parties are not capable on their own to reach a stage where they are able to sit down and negotiate.
But the Prime Minister's invited him to negotiate.
There is a need for a third party involvement, and I think that the Paris conference was a recognition of that fact, that there was need for international focus on this issue that has been somewhat dormant, I mean the peace process, for some time, and I think this was the motivating factor behind the French initiative, coupled with the fact that we are seeing a constant deterioration of the situation on the ground, bringing us further away from a two-state solution rather than closer to.
Ambassador, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.